Can you spy him deep within? Little possum black as sin. Bag is open, growing wider. What's inside it, man or spider? Little boy, don't lose your way. Possum wants to come and play. The following podcast contains possum spoilers. You have been you've been warned.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Augusto.
Hello.
Hello.
It has been a fortnight and a half.
It has.
Yes. How you doing, Glenjamin?
I'm okay. I'm a little toasty right now. For some reason, my room got a little hot, but other than that, the only thing hot is the relationship between us two.
The second, yes, that's true. The second my movie room / office gets hot, air conditioner going in. Because, you went in my movie room in my last place. No
Absolutely.
Air conditioning, no possibility for air conditioning. Hottest basement in the entire goddamn world.
It was a little toast.
Basement should not be that hot. I don't understand why it was so hot.
No, I'm basically in the attic, so it makes sense for me. But basement, hell no.
Basement should be cold. I don't know why that one wasn't, but you know, I digress. We watched a movie that we're going to talk about in a minute called Possum. But before we do that, we have a little bit of catching up. Glenn, I know you have not as many movies to talk about as I do.
Yep.
So you go first. What movies have you watched?
While on our little break that we had, I started to rewatch some movies. One starting with Prisoners, amazing movie, obviously, but I wanted to rewatch it because I didn't remember much from the last time I watched it. So I decided to go back and jump back into that, and dear God, I fucking love that movie. I had given it a 4.5, and now I'm just giving it a straight 5 just because I love it so much and it's so damn good.
Yeah.
But that was like the second or third day after our little break that we had. And then I watched Batman Begins for some reason, mainly because I kind of wanted to fall asleep, but I just ended up watching the whole thing again.
I've done that before.
Obviously still not nearly as good as Dark Knight. Still might be better than Dark Knight Rises. I don't know.
Dark Knight Rises gets it's the problem with Dark Knight Rises is there's no way it was going to live up to Dark Knight, so everyone shits on it way more than it deserves. Maybe not as good as Batman Begins, but still not terrible.
I don't know. I think people overhype Batman Begins. You know,
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I don't know how to explain that, but it's a good movie. Yeah, I just think people are just trash on Dark Knight Rises so hard that it feels like they're overhyping Batman Begins too hard. I don't know. But whatever. It was a movie that I was going to fall asleep to, and I never did. So I ended up watching the whole damn thing. And then, of course, we watched The Northman and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And then, of course, we watched Possum. But
yes, we do.
I'm pretty sure that's all I watched. I could be wrong. You know, we know that I'm always wrong about things. So, Mike, you've got a little plethora, don't you not?
Oh, boy, do I. So I may have miscounted. And I want you to count as I talk about them just to see if I'm correct. I think I have 31 in the 21 days it's been since we've done it. So more than a movie a day. Well, let's see. I'm going to go through these as fast as I can. First, I rewatched the short film by Daniels called Interesting Ball because it's hilarious. I wanted to rewatch it. Then I rewatched Swiss Army Man by Daniels. Are you counting, Glenn? Just to make sure. Okay, so that's 2. Swiss Army Man, great film. Then for the 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched The Bride of Frankenstein, which we've talked about on this podcast.
That's
then
3.
Then I rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the third time I watched it, I believe. It might have been second, actually. It looks like the second time. So yeah, that was the second time I watched it. Then I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2. First watch. Then I watched An American Pickle with Seth Rogen. And Seth Rogen, he plays 2 people in that. Then I watched a few short films by the Daniels. There's 4 here, so you can add 4. Dog Boarding.
We're at 10, 11 now.
Puppets, Pockets, and Swingers. So those are all short films by the Daniels. All are like 2 minutes long, but they're on Letterboxd, so I wrote them. Then for a third time, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Watched it with, I believe that's when I watched it with my dad, my uncle, and my wife. and I was really worried that they were not going to like it, but they all liked it.
Hell yes.
So there's that. Then I watched
keep them in your life.
Yeah, for the 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched The Hangover. It's The Hangover. Then for the 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched To Be or Not to Be. You can find all these reviews for that in June, by the way, for all the 1001 movies. Then I watched Metal Lords, which is on Netflix. It is a movie about a high school metal band. And I'm a metalhead, so I probably liked it more than most people, but it does have some charming moments. Yeah, it's just a good way to pass time, especially if you're a metalhead. Then for the 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched Brokeback Mountain. I know, shocker. I had never seen it before. Shocker.
Yeah, that is that is kind of shocker.
Yeah, you'll hear about that in June, or no, May. At the end of this month, you'll hear that at the end of this month. Then for the fourth time, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I would have seen that more times, but I got COVID, as people who follow our YouTube channel would know. So I could not go to the theater for 2 weeks. I'm about to go see it again sometime this week for a fifth time, but there we go. I also watched that same day Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you're probably going to go see that if you haven't already. Then I took my uncle to see Pulp Fiction because we both had not seen it in theaters and it was playing at Bryn Mawr, so I watched that. Then I watched Jack Goes Boating, which is directed and starring Philip Seymour Hoffman. I had watched it several years ago, probably 10 years ago, and barely remembered it, so I figured I'd give it another go. Pretty solid movie, understated, so it's not going to wow you, but it's still pretty good. Then for the 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson and Robert Downey Jr. and Juliette Lewis. And Julia Lewis or Juliet? I forget. It's one of those two. Then for 1001 movies, I watched Black Narcissus, rewatched it. Then for the 1001 movies, I watched The Story of a Cheat. Again, the May episode, May 28th, you can find out what I thought about that. Then I watched Vivo with my son and my wife while we were all sick and just recovering. Watched an animated family movie together. And then we watched the Lego Batman together because nothing cheers people up more than Lego Batman.
Yep.
And that wonderful MacGuffin joke at the beginning that only I laughed at in the theater. Then we watched a documentary called Polar Bear because we were still sick and just trying to recover, trying to have some life. So we watched a Polar Bear documentary on Disney+. Then for 1001 movies you must see before you die, I watched Hour of the Wolf and Lawrence of Arabia on separate days. I actually split up Lawrence of Arabia over 2 days because that motherfucker is 4 hours long. And normally, but in my having a child days, I would have watched that all in one sitting. But baby boy had other ideas. Then I watched Drag Me to Hell, Sam Raimi movie, because people keep telling me it's good, and I could have sworn what I saw of it was trash, and I was correct. What I saw of it was trash. So, if you like that movie, great, good for you. I'm happy for you. Not for me. Not my kind of cup of tea. No, thank you. Fuck off. Then you and I watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. We are going to have a review on that probably by the time this episode comes out. Yep. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. Then we definitely have a review out for The Northman, which you can find out our thoughts on that on YouTube. And then I watched Possum. How many was that, Glenn?
I'll be honest, after 20, I lost count.
Let's just say it's 31.
But it's roughly 29 to 31. I might have missed a repeat of Everything Everywhere twice, so
I don't blame you for that.
It's there. Well, Jesus Christ.
31. Yep, 31.
There you
That was
go.
correct. Sorry, I had to. My brain would not let me go forward until I knew.
It's quite okay.
Yes, but yeah, that does it for that. We do have some news. We don't normally go about news anymore, but everyone listening to this has probably heard of the Johnny Depp defamation case against Amber Heard.
You've had to at this point.
Unless you just don't go on the internet at all. Possible, completely normal. But the world is kind of finally seeing that Johnny Depp was telling the truth the whole time. This case had evidence.
A piece of shit who pieces of shits on the bed.
On the bed, yeah. This case has had evidence that was not allowed in previous cases, which is dumb because it's kind of the big cup of tea, the big Lebowski evidence, such as Amber Heard mocking him for being an abuse victim. And that's not to say that he did not hit her, but it looks like more every day that he hit her out of self-defense.
Yeah, a lot of antagonizing and stuff like that, and she was trying to get him to do it.
Then she did more harm to him than he did to her, both emotionally and physically, it seems. But, you know, I think it is a smart thing that this is happening, because regardless of the outcome of this case, which Amber Heard's lawyers are fucking useless, so I would be shocked if this goes any other way than Johnny Depp's case. But if it doesn't go his way, he wins in the court of public opinion, and really that's all that kind of matters in the grand, especially for defamation cases. Like no one really cares if he gets $50 million out of this, but they all know that Amber Heard is horrible and should not be in Aquaman 2.
What did I say? It was like 2.6 million or something like that signatures signed for her to get booted off now. And this I feel like this thing started like 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, there have always been supporters of Johnny Depp. I mean, the fact that his ex-girlfriends and ex-wives have come to his defense just goes to show you how much bullshit this is. Like, no one has that many exes defend them.
Yep.
Not even like the nicest of people is just like, oh yeah, he was a great person. He was nothing more than gentle. It seems, if you had to ask me, it seems like the only reason he ever broke up with these women was because of, you know, mutual interests. They all wanted to go their separate ways. Yeah. And it was all out of respect. So who knows? I'm not claiming to be an expert on the matter, but it is not looking great for Amber Heard.
Wild trial to be following along. I find myself coming home every day and just kind of getting the latest scoop on what's going on.
My favorite part so far is when they were interviewing the psychologist.
Oh my God,
they were just like, they were like, oh, you told your husband that you were
the Muffin Man.
Yeah, you told your husband that you were going to interview Amber Heard, and he bought her muffins. That's not accurate. Well, didn't you buy muffins? Yes, I buy muffins for all my clients. My husband happened to pick them up. That is much different than specifically buying them for Amber Heard.
Yeah, like they kept trying to twist her on like how like the husband knew, but she's like, no, I buy muffins for my clients every time, and it just happens that I was late and I needed him to pick them up, so I took them and I brought them. So he didn't go to the thing, he didn't do anything, he just got the muffins for me. And they tried to drag it and twist her around. And she's like, no, you're fucking wrong. Can we move along from the muffins? Yeah. And now everyone's calling her, she's married to the Muffin Man. It's so fucking funny.
The part that got me is that they were interviewing her about her calling her an extreme narcissist. And nothing is more narcissistic than assuming that just because someone said, my husband picked these up for us, that means he specifically knew he was getting them for you. Nothing screams narcissistic more than that.
Yeah. It's,
let's just say your mom bought donuts for us. I would not be like, oh, the mom bought, Glenn's mom bought donuts for me. Like, no, bought them for us. Doesn't necessarily mean that she knows that you're hanging out with me. Just means we got donuts.
Yeah, her lawyers are grasping at anything they could try to get a hold of, and it's showing.
It's frankly embarrassing.
It's super embarrassing, especially to the point like recently, the last couple days is like they'll get up to say hearsay or like object to anything, and she'll just ignore them at that point. She's like, "Please move on. Yeah, just please keep going."
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They've even objected to their own questions.
Oh my God, yeah.
Amber Heard fired her PR team already. So it's just a clusterfuck, and I'm loving every minute of it. Yeah, and I really hope that this goes Johnny Depp's way. Personally, you know, I'm sure he's probably not going to act again, regardless, just because of how Hollywood treated him. But yeah,
it's a super interesting trial in, you know, more than one way, because it's, you know, all this Hollywood tea and stuff like that you're getting, and just how kind of funny this overall trial is. Not funny in the fact that he was abused and stuff like that, obviously, and that getting to my other point, that it's interesting that we're going to see so many more cases now where men are going to step out and, you know, pull out their you know, lady abusers and, you know, call them out from just this trial, and Johnny stepping up about it, which is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
because that was always the thing that with the Me Too movement that everyone always ignored.
Yeah,
was the fact that men are also abused. I mean, they listened to a few for like Brendan Fraser and Terry Crews, but no one really called.
It's kind of selective.
Yeah, no,
which ones they want to.
While people listened to them and accepted that as valid, no one really called for the cancellation of the men that did that to them. Mm-hmm. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So hopefully from this, we obviously get more justification for men being abused and trying to stand up for themselves. Because it'd be pretty fucking cool if that happened.
Yes.
Instead of just being called, be a man, suck it up.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, if by chance you have some spare time, definitely just go home and watch some highlights of the Johnny Depp trial because it is both super entertaining and
very
just very sad.
Yeah. But Johnny Depp seems to be good spirits. He's given his lawyers candy during the trial. He's and
doodling. He's getting a huge fan just appreciation.
Someone brought him alpacas.
Yeah, he's like, oh, alpacas.
He was like, oh, it's alpaca day.
And now I can't stop memeing like most of the things he says. Like there was like a clipping of him like saying Aquaman to Amber Heard at one point in a clip, just mocking her that she was in Aquaman. He's like, oh, Aquaman. And now I can't stop saying Aquaman. It's stupid.
Aquaman is a horrible movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not just hating on DC. That's just like, it's a video game with people's faces in it. That's essentially all.
Jason Momoa stepped up to support Johnny too.
Well, I mean, which I feel like the last I heard is that he called Amber Heard mean.
Yeah, which I feel like he didn't do before. So I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, I read that he did, but I didn't read the exact quote. So it's whatever. But anyway, that's enough of that nonsense. Yeah. Let's get into Possum.
Mother, father, what's afoot? Only Possum black as soot. Mother, father, where to tread? Far from Possum and his head. Here's a bag, now what's inside? Does he seek or does he hide? Can you spy him deep within? Little Possum, black as sin.
Police are widening their search for missing teenager Michael Browning, who disappeared on his way home from school.
Out in the fall, I recall. Your school, wasn't it? There, lad. I had no idea. Did you find him? Waking up, is it? Wants to get out.
After returning to his childhood home, a disgraced children's puppeteer is forced to confront his wicked stepfather and the secrets that have tortured his entire life. It is written and directed by Matthew Holness, starring Sean Harris, Alan Armstrong, pretty much no one else. There's a few other people like Rohan Godeb. Go to bed. Rohan, go to bed. Go to bed, Rohan. He's probably never heard that before. Andy Blythe, Ryan Enever. And it's not just that these aren't big names. They're like literally no one's in it except for Sean Harris.
Yeah, it's a very small cast.
Very, very small cast. The reason I picked this was 100% because I saw a still of it on Instagram that creeped me the fuck out. Mm-hmm. And that was the shot of the puppet in a mirror. The Spider-Man puppet. Not Spider-Man. It's a spider with a man's head.
Yeah.
puppet, and it terrified me. And so, yeah, I watched it, and what I like most about this film is that they try something different. It's very dark and atmospheric, and there's nothing really like absolutely terrifying about it. It's more subdued, psychological. Like you could tell that he's experienced some shit in his life.
Yeah, Sean Harris does very well of showing like just the like emotion that he's holding back and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. And the impressive thing to me was his physical performance, specifically in the beginning when he's holding the bag that has the puppet in it. He's holding it like he's afraid of it. If I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah,
But,
it's like he's carrying an
he's-
animal in a cage.
Exactly. Like no matter how he's walking, he's like holding it in front of him, never by his side to where it's out of his sight, and just like in a very uncomfortable way, like exactly like you said, like an animal in a cage, just trying to make sure it's never out of his sight. And I thought that was like a brilliant touch. And his entire demeanor throughout the film is very interesting.
Yeah, like he's definitely just kind of spooked all the time, and just like could be afraid easily. Like he does very well physically, as far as like just talking to a random person. Like he's just so shy or scared of just even approaching anybody or anything.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, obviously because it's a small cast, he doesn't really talk to anybody. But like you're with him this whole time, and just you see, just this raw emotion, just how what's the word to describe it? He's just kind of keeps to himself, and just
Introverted,
very very introverted, and freaked out all the
misanthropic
time.
in a way.
Yeah.
Not that he's like hates people. He just tries to avoid them. But yeah, it's
And for obviously good reason that we'll find out later.
yeah, absolutely. The thing another great thing about this movie. I'm gonna just say the overall negative thing about it. It's a little weird pacing wise. Like it felt like it should have been a short film, but they just stretched it out to 85 minutes. That's not to say that like it was.
It's not a long movie. It just feels long.
It
because
feels long, yeah.
There's
'cause
not exactly much happening other than the psychological.
and it's a little bit repetitive,
Run.
but they with the B story of the missing child or the missing boy that he sees in the beginning that goes missing, they do a fantastic job at making you question whether or not Sean Harris's character is the kidnapper. Where like he's going to the school. He what he's doing makes sense for the character and all his trauma, but it's also just like maybe these are little glimpses into who the monster he actually is, and to the point where like I thought maybe the puppet was like a metaphor for like a body in the bag or something like that, where he was hiding something in the bag.
Or even like his other half, like his personality, to where he can lash out or do something.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a great red herring that way, where he kept trying to get rid of it again, and it keeps coming back. It's a great metaphor. It's a great metaphor for what it actually is, which we talked about spoilers, where it's just his trauma. It's a metaphor for his trauma, and he keeps trying to get rid of it. Literally his baggage.
He's literally carrying around his emotional baggage the whole movie.
Goddamn, Glenn.
Yep.
Smartest thing you've said in a while.
I thought about that midway through the movie.
That's brilliant.
I was pretty
didn't
proud
even think
of it.
about that. But yeah, he's literally carrying his baggage around, and no matter what he does to try to get rid of it, it just comes back. And it's honestly, this movie went up a bit for me with you just saying that.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, that's brilliant, and I gotta rethink my whole thing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great, a great metaphor for that, and it does a great job of making you second guess the kind of person he is and who he is hiding in the bag or not.
And then like even his interactions with his uncle Maurice, like you have no idea, because you keep constantly kind of getting swayed into thinking again that Philip's probably doing these things or anything like that, because Maurice is like swaying him, and he's like, are you okay? Like what's going on? And just make kind of making him feel worse about himself as he's trying to move on.
Yeah. Bringing up like the fact that he was bullied and having
Yep.
him explain in detail how he was bullied.
Mm-hmm. And it never felt like anything was pointing to anybody else except for Philip the whole time. Well, for me at least.
I mean, you're definitely wondering what's up with Maurice or Morris.
Yeah.
As I think it's pronounced in whatever accent they have.
Good old English accent.
Morris is obviously a douche nozzle, but he does have moments of empathy, which make you second guess that. It does a really good job of making you second guess all the characters, and
which is huge as to why it's such a small cast, because there's only so many people you could really point your fingers to, and you're really only brought to two of them most of the time.
Yeah. You know, another kind of character in this is the house a bit. You know, I hate when people say the setting is a character, but in this it kind of was.
Yeah.
Because it even though it wasn't haunted, it felt haunted. It was dirty. It was disgusting.
It haunted him.
It haunted him, exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of matched his inner turmoil. So artistically, this movie is top notch. It is a phenomenal
visuals.
Visual,
oh my God.
Yeah, visual performance. Artistically, it's great. The pacing is leaves a little bit to be desired, but it's definitely a well thought out film. That really my only complaint is that maybe it should have been a short instead of an
hour long movie. Probably would have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was like a couple jump scare sounds, but other
the
than
music
that,
was a bit much.
Like something that didn't even need the loud noises in the slightest, especially when it's like a slow pan or anything like that. They really that and the pacing is the only thing that really took it away from me. But I mean, 100 or 125, but an hour and a half. That's I'm not scratching my neck looking for something else to do. I was watching the whole time. But I mean, other than that, I mean, the movie was great visually. Acting. I mean, we didn't even get to the ending yet, and we didn't even get there.
Well, yeah, that's kind of something I wanted to touch on. Is that with Morris, however you want to pronounce it, showing some empathy, kind of towards the end, it takes any suspicion off him being the masked man that attacked him when he was a child out of your mind completely.
Yeah.
It is slightly, I don't want to say cartoonish or whatever, but it's kind of felt like a Scooby-Doo moment, where it's just like, Morris, I would have gotten away with you too if it weren't for you meddling puppets. But it was still done effectively to the point where it shocked me. I wasn't like gasp shocked, but it definitely was like, oh wow, okay, and not like bad twists where it's out of the realm of possibility. It is a possible, probable thing, and didn't just spring on you with no warning.
I think the thing with that and how quick the ending went is it all happened really so fast. It was like a 2-minute. The ending just felt like straight 2 minutes.
Yeah. Again, that's why it should have been a short, because the ending was short.
Which in a way is nice, because while after the events that happened there at the end, while Philip is just sitting outside of the shack or the shed or whatever he was sitting next to, he's processing basically what just happened, and then as he's processing, the credits roll, and then you also get to process basically what just happened, which was a pretty cool touch. I guess because it just happened so fast, you didn't really have time to process what was going on because it was so fast. But I mean that was a nice touch, at least as well.
But yeah, I think to wrap up, just like artistically, visually, acting, performance, metaphorically, as you said, like it's a really well-rounded film. Pacing just a little bit slow and probably could have cut off a good 20-25 minutes. I understand why it's only a 5.7 out of 10. It's not one of those movies where I'm just like, how is this a 5.7 out of 10? I get it. I'm until you talked about that, like the emotional baggage thing. I was very like on the fence about it, and I like it a little bit. It's still not a great movie, but it's better than with that little tidbit. It's more meaningful than I thought it was. So yeah, I think it's a solid movie.
Yeah, it was a surprisingly solid movie for sure.
Yeah, and it did have those creepy visuals I picked it for.
It did, yeah. Other than the things we talked about there, I didn't really have too many gripes with it. I wasn't too bored, but it
legitimately
was just a little too long.
Only problem.
Yeah.
But that's all I got to say. So that does it for the review of Possum. That brings us to our judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden and becomes a little shelf boy. It is my chance to pick, but honestly, your little tidbits about this completely derailed what my decision was. So I was going to originally say no.
Yeah.
But I'm now on the fence, and I want to hear your thoughts first, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, because I'm going to say the exact same thing to you.
Oh, no.
And now we get to discuss what we want to do, because we're both on the fence. We get to see what side of the wall we want to jump on here. Obviously, what I said was huge. Like, as far as a trauma film, like it's so much more than just like a monster in a bag or whatever you want to call
it's
it. It's
100% about trauma. The trauma
to
we
most
carry
people, it's
around.
probably like, oh, this is going to be a cool little horror movie. Puts it on and they hate it because there's nothing horrific about it. The horrific thing is the psychological, just phenomenon of what the fuck happened to Philip when he was a kid, and what he's dealing with now, and then Morris, whatever you want to call him, at the end, and how fast that went. It builds up, sadly, like a little too slow and a little slowly too paced, but it builds up to this moment where you don't know whether he's doing these kidnappings and killings or whatever the hell, and then you find out that he was a victim himself, and then overcame that. It's tough because everything's in the juices. It's in the cake that you're making, but the cake didn't come out exactly how you want it to.
It's got
all the perfect ingredients, but the presentation's not the way you want it to look.
Let's do. I don't know if you can watch Great British Bake Off, but let's put it into a pie metaphor here. It is a perfectly baked cake, except for it has a soggy bottom.
Yep.
As they say on Great British Bake Off. So we got to get rid of that soggy bottom.
Yep.
But I think...
I would say I'm leaning more towards, yes, shelf.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah.
I was leaning towards no for shelf. But I do like it.
But like, it's like... The percentage there is like, 55-45.
Yeah,
like it's not
like,
in
like rating. Like it's not an F rating. It's just
not
whether or not it goes on the shelf. I would agree. Yeah, fuck it. It goes on the shelf.
Yeah, fuck it. Soggy bottom boys.
Yes. I mean, I will probably personally never watch it again. Not because I disliked it, just because I've seen it, I've experienced it. It's an experience of a film, not so much an enjoyable one.
And this goes on there as far as like a list of like, oh, if somebody wants to see a psychological horror, I'm like, oh, you didn't watch Us or whatever, you didn't watch Get Out or anything like that. It's different in the fact that you're not looking for an exact horror movie, you're looking for a psychological thing. Yeah. And I think this goes with those. Maybe not the top of the list, but it's on there. It's
definitely going to stick with you for a few days afterwards too, because I still think about a few things from it. I mean, I watched it last night, so it's not like that much time has passed. But it's stuck with me. So Possum goes onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden and becomes a little shelf boy, waving its flag with its pants hiked up high.
Waving that bad
saluting to the gods of cinema. It becomes a little shelf boy. That brings us to our assignment for next week. Glenn, it is your turn to pick. What are we watching?
What are we watching exactly? Well, I wanted to kind of like segue from the Johnny Depp stuff to maybe watch a Johnny Depp movie. But then I realized you've watched every fucking Johnny Depp movie.
Every single one?
Not every one, but most of the ones that were on. Have you? I've watched it, sadly. Okay. So between both of us, we've basically watched them all. But then it got me thinking, like, who else could we watch that I haven't at least thought about in quite a while? And then I realized Gene Hackman's still alive. I kind of want to watch a Gene Hackman film. And then, like, the domino effect just trickled down. And there's a movie called The Conversation that is on Amazon Prime, and what I'm assuming is a new subscription program called Philo.
Philo. I think it's Philo.
But The Conversation.
This is a world of hidden mics and two-way mirrors. A world where nothing is private.
Do you think we can do this?
Later in the week.
Do you think we can do this?
Harry Cole is an expert. The best there is.
Let me tell you something about Harry Cole. The best, bar none. I'll drink to that.
Best what?
The best bugger on the West Coast.
What about me?
He can bug anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Nobody knows how you did it, though, Harry. Caused a hell of a scandal, too.
Look, Bart, you see him? The man with the hearing aid, like Charles. He's been following us all
They're
over.
not people to him, just voices.
Don't worry about it.
3 people were murdered, that's all.
He doesn't know them, and they don't know him.
It had nothing to do with me. I mean, I just turned in the tapes. Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. I've been involved in some work that I think will be used to hurt these 2 young people. No way responsible. I'm not responsible.
You're not supposed to feel anything about it. You're just supposed to do it.
Be careful, Harry. You're just supposed to listen. Not look, not feel, not care.
A paranoid secretive surveillance expert has a crisis of conscience when he suspects that the couple he is spying on will be murdered. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola and also written by the great man himself, stars Gene Hackman, John Cazale, and Alan Garfield. A couple of people out there like Cindy Williams as well, and Michael Higgins and Frederick Forrest. I haven't seen a Gene Hackman film in a while, and I love that guy. He's great in almost everything that he's in.
Yeah.
And the man's still alive, so fucking kudos to that.
Yeah.
And we're going to watch that goddamn movie together.
It does. The poster reminds me of a German film that beat out Pan's Labyrinth for Best Foreign Film when that came out, called The Lives of Others. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the poster for that, you will know exactly why.
Let's check it.
Well, let me see if I can.
That does look a lot like...
Well, because there's a guy wearing headphones.
Yeah, the headphones, damn it. And there's a couple.
Yeah, and a couple. Oh, let me see if that's actually... Okay, it's not. I mean, it's probably maybe inspired, but... so The Conversation, you said that's on Amazon Prime?
Yep. And Philo.
Yeah, I've been kind of meaning to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So The Conversation available on Amazon Prime and Philo and probably other places. That does it for this week's episode. Thank you everyone for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. TikTok, Keystone Film Review. Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch The Conversation.
Bada bing.
We're going to have a conversation about The Conversation.
We are going to have a conversation about The Conversation.
Yeah, how many times has that joke been made? That's the real question. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.